I'll be right back. Mhm.
Okay, I see the video. Okay.
Is the video, are you seeing anything?
I see the video, but yeah, you're not on screen, so I don't know if I can hear any sound from
Okay,
the video
I'm
or not.
coming up now. Hey.
Okay, I can hear you on Facebook now.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out if this will work with clean feed. So let's see,
Okay.
because I need to call you back on clean feed. Yes.
Yeah, you're connected to the clean feed, see if it works, but yeah.
Okay. So let me do that now. And so I guess I'll hang up from you. And
Okay.
wait a minute, let me get my glasses too. I'll be right back. Oh, oh, I mean, you can hang up.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Bye, bye.
Bye bye. Hey, Samantha. Hey, Philip. We're going to see if this can work today. You can see I don't have the normal background because I'm in New York. And I don't know if this is going to work. If this does not work, then I won't be able to be on video. Hmm. Oh, hey, Vita. Hello, hello. Can you hear me, Devin? Okay, now I can hear you. I couldn't hear anything in the background. Can you hear me now? I'm sounding muffled. Okay, let me see if this works. How does this sound? Oh, wait. Hold on. Wait a minute. How do I sound here? Devin? Hello? Devin? Hello? 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 Mm-mm, not at all. I'm putting you on speaker for now. I'm still trying to get some other work done. So do you want me to?
I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay, no. Just let me know when you want me to go back on the clean feed.
Okay. You go back out now. I was trying. Oh man, we just lost you on clean feed.
No, I had to go off because I had to call you.
You're using clean feed on your phone.
Yeah.
Okay. Did your headphones plugged into your phone?
I had them plugged into my phone.
And the volume was up on your phone.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Trying to figure out things. I'm like, okay.
No. You ask all the questions. Ask away.
I'm just thinking here because I'm like, I think you're the only person I know who's used clean feed on the phone, and we have problems at first time. So I'm like, okay.
Well, let me call you back on clean feed and let's see. Okay, I'll hang up. Hello? Devin, can you hear me? Copy. Hello. Hello.
I guess you didn't hear me at all there.
Not at all. I'm still on clean feed. Do you need to send me another link, or how would that work?
We can try that. Are you using your phone's? Are you using hotel Wi-Fi for your phone, or your phone's like a 4 or 5G plan?
Hold on, let me check. Because I think it might
Really choppy. I'm trying to figure out why that is.
automatically switch. Okay. Let me do this. Okay, I'm going to connect through. Let me sign into their network.
Okay, that works.
You're saying it's not a trusted network. Hold on.
For sure.
Please. Okay. So I'm connected on that now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna and then try to get back through clean feed. Okay.
Okay. Do you want me to hang up?
Yeah.
Okay. And hang up on clean feed as well?
You already hung up on clean feed.
Oh,
You
okay.
dropped out.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Of course.
Of course. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, just to let you know what's going on. I'm trying to stay on today. I'm in New York, that's the hotel room, and we're trying to figure out if I'll be able to stay here. Now let me know if this will work for you. Um, if I'm on here, would you go to WCPT820.com so that you can hear the guests? Let me know if that would work for you. Let me know. If I'm on here, you can go to WCPT820.com or AM950radio.com so that you can hear the whole show. Otherwise, you'll just be watching me. So let me know what's going to work for you. You all give me some feedback now, please. Andre and Angela and Renee and Shirley and Vita and Jan and Maria and Philip. And pardon me for squinting, but I don't have my glasses on right now. Okay, so. Okay, so let me know if you all want to do it that way, because if we stay on here, you won't be able to hear the guests, which obviously does not work. So let me know what it is that you would like to do. Otherwise, I can turn this off. Okay, do you want me to stay? Do you all want me to stay on screen? Let me know if you want me to do that. Okay, if you want me to stay on screen, I'll stay on screen. So you'll be able to hear me. But if you go to WCPT or AM 950 radio, go there as well. If you go to either of them, you'll be able to hear. But if we stay here, you'll only see me. So let me know if you want me to stay on. I will do that. But then you'll have to be doing two things at once. So let me know what it is that you would like for me to do. Ooh. Hey, would you like me to go on clean feed now?
Yes, let's get the hotel Wi-Fi.
Okay, let me hang up from you. Okay, bye-bye. Hello, Devin. I can hear the station. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can, very clearly. No, let me do this. How about this? How does that sound? Hello? Hello, hello? Hello? Yeah, I took my headphones off so that I could just speak to you on the phone. I took my headphones off so that I could just speak to you on the phone. Can you hear me now? Devin, this is odd. When I take my headphones out, I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I'm starting to notice that too, and you sound clear, but I think that's like part of the problem. You take it out, the volume goes away, but you can't have that on your phone because obviously then, we pick up an echo on your Facebook and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to come off Facebook, I will, but I'm just saying.
With the thing is, like, right now on the phone also, it's like, I don't know, on Facebook you're coming in clear, but like on your phone, like you keep breaking in and out, and I'm like, that's clearly an internet connection or just a reception connection from where you're from is the thing. So it's like, I'll try through your computer if that's better, because if not, I say we may have to just do the show through the radio show through the phone today if we're going that way. Because when you're on clean through to your phone, like every other word keeps breaking. I can barely understand.
No, we can do it through the phone. The first thing we want to do is get it on the air, right?
Yeah.
So let me go back to clean feed. I mean, let me just go back to clean feed. Ignore StreamYard.
Okay.
Okay, you ignore that. Let me come back to clean feed. Let me do that again.
Okay.
Okay, should I be on my headphones?
Yeah, you can come in muffled through the headphones so you can hear us, so put those in, let's see if you can hear us.
Okay, all right, bye-bye. Yes, please send me another clean feed link. Okay, I'll hang up.
Okay, yes.
Bye-bye. Can you hear me now? Yes, I can hear you very clearly. Can you hear me clearly? Hold on. Can you hear me now? Hold on. Hello? Okay, no, what's odd is that when I take my headphones out, typically I've been able to hear you. Okay? But when I take my headphones out, well, I'll just call into the station. I'm gonna call into the station. Hang up. Devin, yeah, just call me from the station on this line. Okay, bye-bye. Hi, how you doing? Yeah, something's off because typically I have not needed my headphones to speak to you all on clean feed. Yeah, I've never had that issue before. Just so that you know. Well, yeah, I haven't. Sometimes I've had to come off. And so, yeah. So, Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, we'll just have a great show. We'll keep it going. You guys, I'm going to have to be on my, you all can hear me, but you'll have to go to WCPT, and you'll have to go to WCPT or AM 950 radio. AM 950 radio. Remember, I'm on up there. So if you'd like, I'll come off here, okay? So let me know what you all want me to do, and because I can always shut this down. So let me know. Okay. Okay. Thank you very clearly. Can you hear me? Okay, fantastic. So everyone, just so that you know, I'm here for the Wall Street Conference. We've been doing this. Reverend Jackson has been doing this for 25 years, really trying to expand opportunities for African Americans and Latinos and women on Wall Street to get us into the C-suites, CEOs, COOs, CFOs, but also to get us vending opportunities. So it's been a very successful project since 1997, 96, 97. Um, we've made a lot of headway this year. What they're looking at doing is talking about the opportunities in sports. Each sports team in every city has hundreds of millions, if not hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of business that they do in their city, that they do with businesses. So the NFL, NHL, NBA, WNBA, I mean, the tentacles are far reaching. But today we'll be talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination. Um, Want to know what your thoughts are and what this process is going to look like. But first we'll be talking about the possibilities for peace in Ukraine. Um, is it possible? They are in negotiations, peace negotiations, although if you look at the news, you would not know that that is true. Devin, if you can bring that down just a little bit, it's a little loud. Just a down just a little bit more. Okay. Yes. A little better. Oh, it's now I hear nothing. Okay, thank you. It was just blaring before. Look, I'm asking you to do a lot this morning. Thank you so much. Okay, fantastic. Reverend Yuri, good morning. How are you? Come on, give me some personality this morning. Yeah, flip that switch. Make me feel some love this morning. Everyone, yes, uh-huh. Oh, text me. Oh, thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. Oh boy. Boy, boy. So everybody, do you all want me to stay here? Let me know if you want me to stay here. If you stay here, you can only hear me. But if you go to WCPT820.com or AM950radio.com, you'll be able to hear the guests. Okay? I just didn't want to, but it'll be kind of strange. But I'm going to come off of here, everybody, because this is going to be strange. or to only see me, okay? All right. So, do you all want me to stay here? You want to hear both on? Okay, let's get through the first break and you let me know how this works for you, okay? All right. All right, everybody. Devin Andrakis has been doing a yeoman's job, and I thank him for just really coming through. For coming through, coming through, coming through, coming through. And let me go here. Okay, and I'm also on got my little clock going here, but I'm gonna have to toggle between it. Okay. Thank you, Devin. Let's have a great show. Let's have a great show. Let's have a great show. You all want to do both internet and radio? Okay. All right. So we are together then. I'll do it this way. I know you all like the visual experience. I wish we could mm. But just let me know. Let's get through this first pass. Let's get through the first break. And then you all let me know how it works for you. And if it doesn't work, I'll come off of this so that you can just hear the show. And that will be that. Okay? All right. But you have everything you need with the run sheet, yes? Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's March 21st, 2022, Monday. I'm so glad to be with you today on WCPT820.com, on AM950radio.com, and on the Santita Jackson and Friends page and on my YouTube channel. I am in New York today, which is why we're having this really interesting show. I'm at the Rainbow Push Wall Street Conference. It's 25 years in the making. And in fact, first conference we had, President Bill Clinton, he was the guest speaker. He was the keynote speaker. The whole point of this conference has been to open up new markets to, really open up Wall Street to Black people, to Latinos, to women, to get us in the C-suite, CEOs, CFOs, COOs. It has really been a project that has been highly successful. And we're going to be talking about that throughout the week because this is the 25th anniversary of this. And this year, we're looking at blazing new trails in the world of sport. Chicago Bears, Minnesota Timberwolves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. LA Rams, you just name them. They are individual franchises that do individual businesses in their own communities, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more. And so the fans need in. Their business sheet should their businesses should the people with whom they do business should look like fans and the players, by the way, right? So we're going to be talking about that. But today we're looking at Ketanji Brown Jackson. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, first African American woman nominated to the Supreme Court. She is going to start her hearings today. What will that look like? We're going to be exploring that. And then at first, we're going to be talking about Ukraine and peace. Are there possibilities for peace? There are negotiations that are ongoing. There are negotiations that are ongoing. No one's really talking about that. So we're going to have Bryce Green and Dr. David Gibbs from the University of Arizona, the history professor, talk about that because many people would love to see this war end. You don't want to see any more killing. You don't want to see any more pain. There is a way to get out of this. Even President Zelensky has said something that we have been saying on this program over and over and over again. You don't shoot your way out of a war. You have to negotiate your way out of it. So why not start now? We'll be talking about that. And then where we are with COVID-19. There's a lot to talk about today, everybody. So let's get right to it. In Chicago, we're going to have a high of 69 degrees. Whoa, partly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 60 degrees, cloudy. Spring is here, everybody. I guess it's time to put away the sweaters. Well, the really heavy ones anyway. In the NBA, the Timberwolves will be facing off against, what can I can't even read what I wrote, everybody. And then the Raptors, well, the Timberwolves will be playing tonight, and so will the Bulls. And so in March Madness, now this is what's really exciting, everybody. I'm starting with the women. Yes, I am. Number 10, Creighton stunned number 2, Iowa, 64-62. Yes, they won. Number 10, South Dakota. Well, they upset number 2, Baylor. Wow. Number 1, South Carolina. Well, they rolled over number 8, Miami, 49-33. And TCU on the men's side played Arizona. Arizona was triumphant, 85-80. And Purdue was triumphant over Texas, 81-71. Ketanji Brown Jackson will be facing the Senate Judiciary Committee today. What is going to happen? Many people are wondering how she will be scrutinized. What do you think, everybody? Call me at 773-763-19, 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. She's poised to become the first Black woman to sit on this high court, and she's a public defender. How will all of that work? She's replacing the man for whom she clerked, Justice Stephen Breyer. So we will see what's going to happen. Prayers going out to, even when you don't like his decisions, you still have to send some loving prayers to Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who was admitted to a hospital late on Friday after experiencing flu-like symptoms, the court's public information office said. And they said that he does not have COVID. He does not have COVID-19, thankfully. Ukrainian President Zelensky is appealing for ceasefire talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. But U.S. and NATO officials say that Putin has not backed off of his original demands. Last week, President Putin laid out several issues to achieve a ceasefire with Ukraine, including a demand for Ukraine's neutrality or an assurance that Ukraine would not become a NATO member. President Zelensky, for his portion, has indicated that he is willing to consider a neutrality policy under certain conditions to help bring an end to the violence. The violence or the war? You let me know what's going on. More than 20 million people all across the United States, the Southeast United States rather, are bracing for extreme weather this week. This is what happens in the spring, everybody. Tornadoes, damaging winds, very large hail. So we are praying for all of our brothers and sisters in the Gulf Coast region. Louisiana, Mississippi are expected to be hit the hardest, everybody. So let's get to some good news, everybody. Some good news with Pastor Todd Yeary. Pastor Todd Yeary, what's on your mind today? It's good. We are together in New York, and I'm so glad that we are. Very good. The brackets have been messed up. Okay, well, then come on now. That's what the bracket's for. You're not going to know everything. Ooh. Yes. Amen. Thank you so much. Hey, everybody. Joyce Anderson, you said there's no sound. Is everything okay? Well, that's why I need you to go to WCPT820.com or AM950radio.com. WCPT820.com or AM950radio.com. On this platform, you can only see me. You can hear me, but you cannot hear the guest. So if that works for you, let me know. Let me know if that'll work for you. Otherwise, I will turn this off and you can just go to WCPT820.com or AM950radio.com and just listen to the show. And then I'll return to you on Wednesday. So, everybody, I want you to call me. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. A couple of questions for you. Is peace possible in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia? Is that possible? We're going to be talking with Bryce Green and with Dr. David Gibbs from the University of Arizona about that, because that is being negotiated right now as we speak. It's being negotiated right now as we speak. But I came across this story about the return to normal. The return to normal. You know, they're saying that the pandemic is still here. Should I say the infections are just here, are still here. They're on the rise throughout the country and really, indeed, throughout the world. How is this supposed to work? Because now COVID funding has been taken away. So the money that went into, well, I guess informing us, because it did not really go into prevention. That's why, you know what, Devin, call Dr. Shanita Knight again, please. That all this COVID money that was out here, well, we're trying to educate people about COVID and things like that. All of that is now gone. As you could see from that $1.5 trillion omnibus bill, the money was taken out of the COVID fund and given to Ukraine. So now we're seeing a surge in infections. Maybe not hospitalizations, but infections. But every hospital, just because you are infected doesn't mean that you aren't very sick. There's a lot going on here. So I want to know what you're thinking. What is your thinking? What is your thinking? How do you feel about this? Dr. Knighton, how are you doing today? It's great hearing your voice. You know what? Let me just get right to it. Biden's return to normal COVID strategy faces a new test as funding stalls. Much of the administration plan, according to this NBC report, for the next phase of the pandemic, when Americans can return to work and just really return to normal. You know, these music festivals already, you don't have to be vaccinated. You don't have to test negative or positive. You don't have to do it. You just need to show up. Well, this was based on the assumption that Congress would be giving billions for treatments, for vaccines, and for testing. But that money is in jeopardy after Congress dropped $15.6 billion of this COVID response money from the government spending, and it was shifted. So where do we go from here? I mean, what is it that we need as infections continue to surge? I mean, all across the world and throughout the United States? Or are we less concerned about people getting infected and more concerned about them being hospitalized? I mean, what's the deal? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Adequate HVAC systems inside of, dwelling structures that are old, such as schools, such as old buildings. That means that there is a possible risk of contamination. The fact that we know that people that suffer from COVID that were adults had on average 4 other conditions, we're still not moving towards a healthier place in order for us to say, hey, if these strains do come in, we know that people are going to survive and they're going to thrive. So I personally tell people this is a matter of being a survival of the fittest right now, meaning that you will be better off making sure you are cleaning your hands. You are conscious about wearing masks in closed-in settings and places where it's crowded, meaning like, yes, you might be at a concert or something or at a show and you may be seated. And seated, you may feel comfortable, but when everyone is getting ready to exit, and everything is all crowded and people are talking as they're leaving out of the show, maybe that's the time of where you would want to put on your mask because everyone is so close in and there's no social distancing right then and there. So we just have to really be mindful of our activities, mindful of touching things. I cannot say this enough. If anyone Googles, hand hygiene is the single most effective way to prevent the spread of germs. We have known this since the beginning of time. It is still applicable. I know that there's been a lot of noise around, like, let's say, COVID being airborne or being able to get it through this mechanism. Understand that if you touch the surface, if you touch your nose and your hands become contaminated, that then becomes a vector or a tool to be able to transmit those germs to other places and to other people. So I tell people, if you don't do anything else, please make sure you are thoroughly washing your hands. That right there, it is simple, it's cost effective. It doesn't mean that you're going around environmentally cleaning, but you at least know that you're protecting yourself from touching your eyes, mouth, and nose. I can tell you that with the mask, the one thing that it did do, and science shows this, is that with people wearing masks, they were less likely to have that direct contact with their mouth and their nose if they were wearing it correctly.
We're talking with Dr. Shanita Knight, an infection preventionist from Case Western Reserve University. She's a registered nurse. And really, this is a particular field of study. She's a research scholar, infection preventionist. This is something we heard far too little about during this whole pandemic. But thank you, Dr. Deborah Holden, for bringing her to us, for even letting us know that an infection preventionist actually does exist. So let me go right back to this because I flew yesterday, right? I was in the airport. And everybody's out. Some people are masked, some people are not. Okay, it is what it is. I'm masked, you know me, I'm double masked. That having been said, just even in personal spaces, people are not as concerned, Dr. Knighton, about washing their hands. They're really not that concerned about that. What do you say about that? I mean, because like even when you go out, I don't see people like even pulling out the hand sanitizer the way we used to at the beginning of this.
Not at all, and they're absolutely not. And even too, like I can tell you, I'm very picky about my cocktails. Okay, I'm talking about like I'm still seeing people will still try to handle cash or money, and then come take your order for your drink. They just like literally touch somebody else's money or their card, and now they're sticking a lemon or a lime inside of your beverage with their bare hands, right? And I mean, this is happening. I don't know if people even pay attention to this, like when they're, let's say getting like some sort of mixed drink, but the handling of even cash and your items and someone directly touching something that you're getting ready to consume, that would be cause for concern, right? But these are not things that we're consciously thinking of. I see people touch their nose and touch their mouth. I see people that are still like nibbling like on their fingernails and stuff. Like you look at some of these habits that are happening and people just will touch stuff and they don't care. And when I tell you, in my field, I'm a little bit biased because it's like this is what I do. And so sometimes I'm like, okay, is this just being OCD or is this just a situation where this is just nasty? And 9 times out of 10, it's just nasty and people are unaware of what they're doing. So if I watch somebody like literally touch their face, if I watch them like literally, I've seen people scratching their ear and go to like try to prepare some food, like some of the over-counter spots where you have to go down the assembly line and they got to pour the rice and pour whatever on your food. Like they're literally touching stuff and then touching your food in between. And they're not cleaning their hands. I've seen people pull out their cell phones while also preparing food. And we know those are 10 times dirtier than the toilet seat, and you don't know where people's phones are. So I tell individuals say yes, whether we talking about COVID or whether we talking about you saying, oh man, I shouldn't have ate that burger, my stomach's sick. It might not have been the burger. It might have been what happened around you getting the burger, the preparation of making the sandwich that got you sick more so than the actual meat itself. And so these are things that we're just not paying attention to The hands are so important. It is under-acknowledged. There were barely any campaigns on any media sites about hand hygiene. They talked to us about hand hygiene at the very, very beginning of the pandemic. We very rarely hear about its importance now. And there's so many people, even still to this day, that are in denial about the importance of it. But one thing for sure, two things for certain, is in hospital settings where there are healthcare-associated infections, if healthcare workers do not wash their hands in between patients, they are likely to transmit germs in between patients. That will still be applicable regardless of the setting. So if we're out in public and somebody's not washing their hands between tending to customers, or we're not cleaning our hands after touching different surfaces, we're all in the same boat in regards to being able to get sick.
Dr. Shanina Knighton, everybody, please be careful as everything is reopening. It's as if COVID is not here. COVID is endemic. The pandemic is now endemic. It's something we have to live with. But the funding that went into testing, that went into treatment, that's been withdrawn. So I guess just very quickly, in about 20 seconds, I guess that's on you. When I got off the plane in New York, I was able to go and get a test. I was going to give them my insurance card. They said, no, the testing is free. Antigen testing and just, the rapid testing. So is that going to go away? 30 seconds.
So as of right now, I'm not sure, but I do want to tell people that the cost per test is expensive, and when we add that up in terms of them being available, what's unclear is if that's counted in terms of that number. But I can tell you, if the testing does go away, then we're really going to be unaware of who's being impacted. We're going to be unaware of who's spreading it. So I always tell people, stay ready. So they got to get ready, and as soon as you have COVID, or as soon as you don't want to get COVID, so that way you're doing activities to make sure that you're stopping transmission.
This is why we love Dr. Shanina Knighton at Hey Dr. Nina, at Hey Dr. Nina. Follow her on Instagram, on all of these platforms. Of course, follow Dr. Deborah Verholden at Dr. Deb Verholden, at Dr. Deb Verholden. But if you want to get some of the best information, it doesn't get any better. It doesn't get any better than that. Coming up, let's talk about Ukraine. Is peace possible? What's going on over there? What's going on? Why are they asking our president to come if you're brave? Now we're giving you the money. What's up with that? Back in just a minute. Dr. Knighton. Good morning. Girl, you have the most, I love your voice. I love you, girl. I love my, good morning. I feel like I need to sit upright, and I need to sit at my wooden desk in school. And just be on my best behavior. But you are the best. Thank you, sweetie. You know what I did? This is what I did do. I sent you all, I did something different last night because, of course, I'm not at home. I sent you like a packet of stories, like 4 or 5 links. And I said, the Santita Jackson Show stories. Okay. All right. I'm going to start doing it that way. Okay. And if there's anything that you come across today that you want to, look into, please let me know. Please let me know.
You're not thinking about civil rights, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's still something that needs to occur. So these things still need to happen. They're not thinking about voters' rights unless an election, but you still got people fighting, you still got people doing the work. And so this is that thing of like, even though we have important topics, it's so essential that it stays on the radar because we're going to...
60 seconds, everyone.
Okay. We'll be hearing about from time to time, like, it's going to be, oh, well, these are the long-term effects, or, oh, did you know that people that got COVID in this manner did this? And that's going to be the stuff that people are not going to be thinking about, but there's going to be a mass amount of people that's going to still be facing issues from it.
Well, you know,
like how we have the long haulers.
well, you know what I want you to do? Let's talk about that tomorrow. I'm very serious because I said, wow, when this testing goes away, and it's about to go away, because what I saw yesterday in New York has to be funded. That funding has been pulled out. So people are just going to be walking around, and testing costs you $100, $200+. You're not going to be able to afford to get tested as often as you need to. So let's definitely talk about that. I love you, Dr. Knighton. Let me jump over to Bryce Green and but listen, Dr. Knighton, stay right there so you can listen and hear about this. Stand by. Hey everybody, Santita Jackson coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. Yes, we were Air America, but today we are WCPT and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I'm Santita Jackson. I want to hear your thoughts today. 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT, 773-763-9278. And of course, catch me. Hey, I figured something out. I think Dr. Reeves helped me do this. Over on Facebook, on the Santita Jackson and Friends page. That is my official page. Everybody like and share this show. Like and share this show. And on my YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Like and share. Cedric, Dave, Mark from DC, my other home. And, well, in New York. And Joyce, everybody, please like and share the show today. We're talking about peace in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia and the United States and NATO. All of that. Will that happen? Can that happen? Are you aware that peace negotiations are happening right now? Even in my headlines last week, I said, President Zelensky said something that we've been saying here, that you don't shoot your way out of war. You got to negotiate your way out of it. But then you still have this language that is really inflammatory. You hear from the Financial Times of London and Al Jazeera and these international outlets that Russia and Ukraine are close to an agreement. Indeed, Turkey has been central to all of this. But then President Zelensky is warning of World War III if the peace talks with Russia fail. World War III, he's been calling for people all over the world to come in and fight the fight alongside Ukrainians. And then there are some mixed signals that we're reading about in the Washington Post. Mixed signals from the Ukraine president, and his aides are leaving the West confused about the end game, because indeed he is accusing the Russians of trying to conduct the final solution. Now, the last time we heard that was during the Holocaust. That is it's very Hitler-esque, if you will. And so what do you think about that? How do we find peace when we have this inflammatory language and when we have all of this shooting? Of course, back on the show, Dr. David Gibbs, a brilliant professor of history at the University of Arizona, and equally brilliant, a writer for Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, Bryce Green. Welcome back to the show, gentlemen. Let me start with you, Dr. Gibbs. The mixed signals that we're hearing from the president. I mean, we're hearing that he's accusing the Russians of employing the final solution. He's calling for people from all over the world, and you have a lot of Americans who are going over there to fight. And yet we hear from Turkey. You know what? We are getting closer and closer to a solution, maybe to a ceasefire, maybe to peace. Where are we?
Well, I think the key player here is really Zelensky in the United States. And the United States, so far as I can tell, and as far as the public record shows, has shown no interest in a negotiated solution either before the Russian invasion or up to this point in time. The negotiations in Belarus have been between Ukraine and Russia, but I think that one of the things that has been important here is the United States has to get on board with a peace solution. and has to encourage this. And I'm seeing nothing to suggest that. The United States is, we have a bipartisan agreement in Washington, which is extraordinary given the tensions between the parties on one issue, which is arming Ukraine. Effectively, the two parties can't agree on anything except war. I think what we need to have here is a U.S. position on what the United States would be willing to accept as a peace agreement to end the war, and we're not seeing anything like that. And on the contrary, it seems like the United States' position, again, it's as far as we can tell from the public record, the United States' position is to keep the war going and to intensify it. Biden's own rhetoric here, calling Putin a war criminal, well, invading the country is a criminal act, there's no doubt about it, although it's what, of course, the U.S. itself has done as well. And so in a certain sense, yes, it's legitimate to criticize Putin that way. The problem is you have to make peace with Putin. And the United States doesn't seem to have any interest in that. The American policy here seems to be driven by defeating Russia and overthrowing Putin. There's talk about regime change. The sanctions, which are extraordinary and are doing a lot of damage to the U.S. and the world economy, in addition to Russia, seem to be designed to bring down the Russian economy. And again, that's likely to inflame the war, not bring about a peace solution. So I'm very disturbed by the fact that the U.S. doesn't seem to be on board with a negotiated settlement, which is really what we need now.
But why bring down the Russian economy? What about this focus on Russia? I'm trying to figure out how we got from being strong allies in the Second World War to where we were not even a decade later. What happened?
It's a good question. It's not just in the Second World War, but in the 90s, Russia was extremely friendly to the United States, so friendly, in fact, the president, Boris Yeltsin, at times seemed almost like an American stooge. I mean, the United States engineered his re-election, massively meddled in the Russian election in 96, to re-elect the existing president, Yeltsin, even though he's very unpopular with his own people. And I think in the early 90s, at least, the Russian people, there's a lot of voters, the Russian people were very pro-American. I think all of that was squandered because the U.S. had a need to expand its power globally and take into account nothing about Russia's any of its security needs. And there was an effort to expand NATO at a time when Russia was threatening nobody, and everybody agreed in the 90s there was no security threat whatsoever emanating from Russia. And yet the U.S. relentlessly expanded NATO in violation of an agreement with Russia not to expand NATO. It is important. It was a direct violation of an agreement not to do this. And the U.S. did it anyway because A, it was a symbol of power and prestige, and B, it was advantageous to the U.S. arms manufacturing companies, the military-industrial complex, and the uniform military, not only in the U.S. but also in Western Europe. And so a series of vested interests were driving policy at the expense of global security, and there were numerous top figures in the foreign policy establishment who warned this is going to turn Russia from a friendly country into an enemy. This will risk ending in war. And this was disregarded.
Bryce Green, what do you see? I mean, we see this inflammatory language, the final solution, Third World War, even daring the president to come to Ukraine if you're brave. I said, wow, wait a minute, we're giving you billions of dollars and you're daring the president to take this massive security risk to come into a war zone. What do you see?
Right. Well, it does seem that Zelensky is of two minds and two tracks here. On one hand, the side that's boosted in the U.S. media is this bellicose rhetoric, is this, invoking Martin Luther King to try and get America involved, is this, invoking the Holocaust to try and get Israel involved, and just talking about all this escalation in an effort to get NATO countries involved in the Russo-Ukrainian war. And not to say NATO countries aren't already involved. We're sending the weapons, we're sending the javelins, and we're sending billions and billions of dollars of aid. But Zelensky seems to want the United States to get even more involved to implement a no-fly zone, which would involve U.S. forces shooting down Russian planes. And yeah, like he said, that's World War III. But on the other side, and this has been reported more and more over the last couple of weeks, but Zelensky has been negotiating with Putin almost since the war began. And it might David Gibbs just said, the United States has had no interest in doing that. Their interest seemed to be prolonging the war, and their interest before the war seemed to be to bring it about. And now that it's about, they want to extend it, make it more brutal, because it accomplishes a lot of the U.S. strategic goals. The goal of strengthening NATO, for example. NATO overnight after Russia invaded gained a whole new lease on life. And that was one of America's long-term stated strategic goals. And also, you asked about this, the question of why we're still targeting Russia's economy. Well, because that was also a major part of strategic goals. The U.S. wants to overextend Russia and then give itself an excuse to sanction Russia and crush its economy. I think Biden used the word deindustrialize Russia in his speech, one of his early speeches about the sanctions that he's imposed. So this is a major opportunity for the U.S. to go after a major competitor. And like I said, these have been stated strategic goals for years. In fact, there was a 2019 Pentagon study titled Overextending and Unbalancing Russia. And there was a study that basically concluded that messing around in Ukraine is the best way to get Russia to overextend itself because it considers Ukraine such a vital asset. And it also said that this was the highest risk of starting a war. And that's what U.S. policy has followed. So that seems to be why they're not interested in peace. That seems to be why they're not encouraging Zelensky's efforts to negotiate. But only one of those sides, the more warmongering side, is represented in the U.S. politics. Like you said, this is the only issue that Republicans and Democrats are almost completely unified on. The idea that the only way to handle this war is to send more weapons, is to send more aid. It's as if they don't see any other way out of this war other than escalating it to the point where Putin surrenders, which is insane because it's, sacrificing the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian state, for this geopolitical goal. And that doesn't seem to be a solution for real peace. If Zelensky and Putin and Turkey and even China, if they can come into some sort of arrangement, some sort of long-term peaceful settlement, or even a short-term one, the U.S., I think, would look very foolish for not seriously engaging in these efforts. They talk a big game about how the world is on their side and their sanctioning of the Russian economy. But if you look at a map of the world, well, what the world means is the United States, Western Europe, Australia, and Japan. The rest of the world, the majority of the world's population, doesn't really want much to do with the U.S. assault on the Russian economy. And so I think this is a major missed opportunity for the U.S. Like, we could have been negotiating a peaceful settlement before this war. We could have addressed Russia's long-term security needs before this war. But we chose not to. We chose to escalate, and that continues to be our policy.
We're talking with Bryce Green, Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, and Dr. David Gibbs, noted author, professor of history at the University of Arizona. Let me get a couple of these callers in at least. Before I get back to both of you about the reporting, I was watching Morning Joe this morning. I watch all the shows in the morning. And I also go online and watch international shows from different parts of the world just to get a feel for what people are talking about. But I was struck by one thing, Bryce, and Dr. Gibbs. They were saying that, initially America wasn't feeling this war. Now, the American consensus is being bent toward doing something. I said, well, there's wall-to-wall war coverage on television every morning. We're not even talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is up for a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court. That's huge. Let me go to Noel. Noel, thank you so much for holding. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, good morning, Ms. Johnson. How you doing?
It's wonderful hearing your voice always. Thank you for always being so engaged.
Yeah. Okay. I sometimes just look at the situation from a different perspective. When I say different perspective, you have to listen to what other people are white males. In recent, they are trying to impose what we call modern day imperialism, where one power can do whatever it wants around the world. And so it is not in the U.S. interest to find any peaceful solution to this war. So that's why I have no hope. Because now all the Western European countries are high alert, they are arming themselves. There's additional monetary support for Ukraine, but mostly it's for military industrial complex. So while we all wish for peace, I have zero confidence in knowing that the U.S. is interested in peaceful solution in Ukraine, because it's not in the U.S. interest. And manufacturers like Raytheon, Boeing, is not in their interest. That's why there's not going to be any peace anytime soon.
Well, you know what, Noel, I would encourage you to do what Bryce Green just encouraged you to do. Don't get a globe, get a map and spread it out. And you'll see really the contours of this conflict. And start listening to listening to voices from all over the world. There's a different conversation happening on the continent of Africa. There's a different conversation happening in India and on that subcontinent. That's more than 1 billion people. There are different conversations happening around the world. And I will tell you this, the prophetic doctor, Reverend Dr. Donald Parsons said something that I hold dear to my heart. He said, remember this, even clouds run out of rain. You make sure you keep hope alive. We don't see we don't see what the end is going to be in this storm, but there will be an end to the storm. Love you so much, Noel. Let me go to Renee. Renee, what's on your mind today?
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
Always. What's on your mind before you go into this classroom and, oh my goodness, what are you going to talk about?
Well, if anybody wants to wipe out a group of people, isn't this the Ukrainian president who has allowed the neo-Nazi people, what are they, Azov or something like that, to be integrated into the military, into their National Guard? They hate people who are not white, according to what the leader of that group said. I read an article that said that they've been coating their bullets with pig fat, because Muslims don't deal with pigs. That's not unclean to them. So if anybody wants to try to wipe out a group of people, it looks like those are the people that the Ukrainians are letting in on their sides. And I don't see that when I look at the news, the corporate news media. I don't watch them much, but I don't see that being spoken about. And that would, to me, go along with the same agenda that they seem to be having in this country. It seems like they're trying to wipe us out, which is why we can't get a George Floyd Act. We can't get any restrictions on the police who try to disproportionately kill us. It seems like there's an agenda. When you look at Yemen being killed, when you look across the world at the black and brown people being wiped out, and there's nothing said about it much unless you listen to your show or look at Democracy Now! Or read some of the newspapers. You don't see anything happening to other people, and who's doing this to the different folks around the world and in this country? It's sad, and it's frightening, and it's wrong. And I'm so glad that you let people talk about more than one point of view of what's going on.
Well, stay right there, Renee, because, Bryce and Dr. Gibbs, starting with you, Dr. Gibbs, there is more than one point of view. I was struck by the programming that I have seen, the news reporting, the news shows coming out of India, out of South Africa, out of Kenya, just all over the continent of Africa, all around the world. Number one, people don't want war, but they also want an end to imperialism, Western European imperialism, and they put America, the United States of America, in that. Why don't you respond to what you've heard, what you have heard Renee say? Because a lot of people, of course, you don't want to see Ukraine harmed in this way. Of course not, and you want them to be protected. But of course, you need to understand what went into all of this. You need to understand that too. But we also have to look at these conflicts all over the world, which the Western media absolutely don't want to pay attention to. They do so reluctantly. And there is no discussion about this Nazi presence in the highest reaches of the military in Ukraine. I mean, that's always thrown off, and they're like they're minor. I'm like, no, they're not minor. They are quite a presence. Dr. Gibbs.
I think one of the things that you're seeing here is a presentation of good guys and bad guys, with all of the blame being put on Russia. And obviously, Russia deserves enormous blame since they illegally invaded a country. And that's a terrible thing to do. But the narrative we're getting is that there's kind of a halo over the head of the United States. And I think in the Southern Hemisphere, there's a real awareness of the lack of a halo here. I think people in the Middle East remember very well, perhaps much better than we do, the U.S. illegal invasion of Iraq, which to date at least has killed far more people than the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Now that may change, but so far at least about 1 million people have died in Iraq because of the U.S. invasion. There was the invasion of Afghanistan, which is catastrophic. There was the overthrow of the government of Libya, which destabilized North Africa, on and on and on and on. And so I think there's much more of an awareness and much more of a memory of these things in the Southern Hemisphere. Even in places like India, which so far at least hasn't been invaded by the United States, there's much more of an awareness of the very aggressive role played by the United States. And so I think that's one of the issues here, is that there's a certain sense that America has done nothing wrong here, whereas the U.S. had an enormous role in provoking the invasion. That doesn't justify the invasion by any means. But one must recognize the American role in provoking the invasion, and now it does appear prolonging the war and very likely blocking peace efforts, which does seem to be what the United States is doing at this very point in time. And so I think that basically what you're getting in the Southern Hemisphere, I watched Indian programming, and it's just much more balanced. It's not in any way taking sides in favor of Russia against the Ukraine, but just much more of a sense of balance, which is what we're missing, I think, in the narrative we're getting in this country, and I gather also in Western Europe, among our allied states. There's no doubt there is definitely a Nazi, neo-Nazi fascist presence in Ukraine. The Azov Battalion, now the Azov Brigade. The brigade is sizable. The brigade, I think, is several thousand soldiers. That's one of the most active military units in the Ukrainian army. But I'll let Bryce Green discuss that at greater length, as he seems extremely well informed on that specific topic.
Okay, the last 3 minutes belong to you, Bryce.
Right. So, exactly what you said about the U.S. supporting neo-Nazis, and also that being a sort of reflection of our policy at home. It's just that we don't care about all these views that are harmful to minorities, all these views that are clearly anti-Semitic, and clearly, based on a race-based hierarchy. We don't care about that as long as it's useful to us. And there's a long history of NATO specifically supporting actual Nazi elements. At the end of the Second World War, the U.S. integrated the Nazi intelligence into the Western Europe security apparatus. And that's not an exaggeration. Their entire intelligence apparatus of West Germany was made up of former Nazis. In fact, some of the highest levels of NATO after the war, they included Nazi generals. And we funded far-right armies to stay behind in Europe in the event of a Soviet invasion. But when the Soviets never invaded, these far-right armies still received a lot of support from the U.S. and conducted terror campaigns in Western Europe, pushing that country to the right through a strategy of tension and fear. And so the fact that the U.S. is supporting Ukrainian Nazis it tracks very well with the U.S. history. And these Ukrainian Nazis, we used them, or we helped support their overthrow, our engineering of the overthrow of the government in 2014. It was a major event in the roots of this entire conflict. The protest that ousted the president, well, the most violent group of that protest, the most outspoken, the vanguard of these protests were groups called the right sector, who were, openly flying Nazi flags, openly spouting Hitlerite slogans. rebellions and things like that. And after that, after the overthrow, these groups were integrated into the Ukrainian military. And then they were at the forefront of the campaign to suppress the rebellion that emerged after that overthrow, right? In the east of Ukraine, a lot of people didn't like the fact that the president that they voted for was overthrown, and so they rebelled. But these neo-Nazis were at the forefront of the brutal repression campaign that fueled the rebellion, and that later became a civil war. And so now you have the United States giving billions and billions and billions of dollars to this military that includes these neo-Nazi battalions who have openly genocidal goals,
Sure.
openly racist views. And we even have Americans going over and fighting in Ukraine and joining up with this battalion. And some of them are reporting back, they're like, oh, I didn't know that they were this racist, or
I got 10
I didn't
seconds.
know that they would like force me to fight. I didn't know they would let me go there. But this is just a very dangerous situation, and we have to think about what will happen afterward. Right? We're pouring weapons into this country where there's a known Nazi presence. Do we think they're just going to go away when we're done with Ukraine? That didn't happen with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan.
Sure.
And I don't see any reason to expect it to happen here.
You know, Bryce Green, Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting. Dr. David Gibbs, University of Arizona, Professor of History. This is why you need to have your history. Everybody, boy, oh boy. Let's pray for peace, but work for it. March for it. Push for it. Tell our government that that is what we want. We want a peace dividend, everybody. We need money for COVID, for schools, and for everything in the United States and all around the world. Sending you guys much, much love. Let's talk about Ketanji Brown Jackson. What will her hearings look like today? Will the Republicans go after her, or how will they do it? George Will just wrote an interesting piece in the Washington Post asking her pointed questions about affirmative action, for example. A whole lot is going on. Back in just a minute. Professor Gibbs?
Yes.
I'm working on that piece for you, that blurb for you. We're working on that now. I'm working on that blurb for you. We're working on that right now.
That's great. I really like that. Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome. We were able to talk about it last night. Bryce Green, thank you. You all are just too many things. I love it, love it, love it. And if you could send me links to some of the Indian broadcasts that you watch, because I've been watching them and broadcasts throughout the continent of Africa. I've been listening to everything. You know, the SABC, the South African Broadcasting Corporation, is very, 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 very mainstream, if you will, very corporate. But it's just a whole different kind of reportage that we're getting. And I think it's very important because, thank you, Bryce. Open up a map, everybody. Not a globe, a map. You'll see, they talk about a world war. I'm like, no, this is a European war, and the United States and Japan and Australia. This is no. We just don't need any more bloodshed. This is not going to work. So I want to thank you all. I'm going to have to let you go so I can bring everybody else on. But thank you so much for being with us today.
Get some of those Indian sources. I don't know anything about like the Indian newscape, and they're like the second largest country in the world. So it's a big gap.
I'm telling you, I've been looking. I started looking, because we've spent some time over there, and I just started looking. I wanted to hear what they had to say because I've seen how they've been voting in the United Nations, and I know the pushback that they have been getting from these white academics, these Western academics. How dare you? And these people. Look, they've got their credentials too, and they've got their feelings and experiences, and they're like, how dare you come at me? And then they go into these people say, wait a minute, I remember Libya, I remember Iraq. Someone even brought up Maurice Bishop in Grenada, okay, from '83. They said, no. They said, no, you can't do this. This has got to stop. So, and so everyone, me, I'm pushing for peace here. Okay, I'm talking to my Facebook audience. I'm in New York today, which is why we have this odd-sounding broadcast. But you'll be hearing from me in the next day or so. I just love having you all on. You all are just great. Thank you. No, thank you both. Thank you both. Thank you both. But you know, when you send the links to me, I'll send them. I don't know if you and Bryce are connected. I'll put you all on the same text. I'll put you all on the same text chain. Okay. Thank you. Blessings to you both. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good morning. Bye-bye.
Oh, you too. You two have a wonderful day, both of you. Hey, everybody. You know what I figured out? Like this phone. Oh, I found this on Amazon on Amazon. Well, I said, well, let me put you on speaker because I'm not on something called Clean Feed, which takes me through. It's a computer. A computer program that puts me through the station. So we're just on the phone on the station. And it just hit me. Let me see if this doesn't give Devin, who has been doing a yeoman's job getting all of this together. He's my sound engineer. So let me put you guys on speaker, and here we are. Yay! Oh, so we can all be together today. And Dave Dowling, peace can be achieved. Hey, Reverend Donald Parsons said even clouds run out of rain. Okay? So, you know, war can't go on forever. And the sun did set on the British Empire. They just took over the money. They just did it in another way. But let's be very, very clear. You cannot do this. This is not, the world was not created to function in this way. And I'm gonna hold on to that.
All right, sending attorney CK and attorney Sanat through. The other two are not answering. I'll let you know when I get them both.
Okay.
Sending these two through.
Thank you. Let me say hello to them. CK, I can't wait to see you today, girlie.
Good morning, Santita. How are you?
Good morning, attorney Sanat.
Good morning, Santita. How are you?
Doing great.
Good morning, Attorney Hopler.
We're gonna have to get attorney Sanat up to one of these
Morning.
conferences one day.
No, that would be magnificent. And Santita, I look forward to seeing you in a few hours.
Yay!
I get in at 1:15.
Okay.
Yeah, Attorney Hopler. Are you going to be there on Sunday in New York? In Chicago? In Chicago, no, I won't because I live in Atlanta, but I'll go to Florida next week, so I won't be there on Sunday.
What's going on in Chicago?
Yeah. Your brother.
What's going on, honey? I can't keep up with everything.
60 seconds.
Justin Jackson is running for Congress.
No, I know that.
That we know that, but there's a specific event here. But I was trying to be all slick and discreet about it, Santita Jackson.
No, I mean, okay. Okay.
Santita's like, what is it? What is it?
I'm like, because he's about to be here. I think he and I are going to be roommates for a couple of days. Oh. I walked into my room. I said, oh, I have 2 beds. My brother might stay with me. Let's save money. Look, I don't mind staying with my brother. He and I have fun. It's just I will wake up CK and he will have his friends in here. I'm like, what? Oh. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It is Monday, March 21st, 2022. Happy spring, everybody. Can you believe it? The winter is behind us. And wow, in Chicago, it's going to be 69 degrees today. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 60 degrees. It is, you can feel the breeze. Something has changed, and I hope that you are enjoying it. Hey, everybody. I'm Santita Jackson. If you want to hear the podcast of this show, please go to wcpt820.com/Santita. And so that you could hear this wonderful show. Reverend Dr. Todd Urey gave us a rousing message about being ready for the shifting of the seasons that happens not just in the weather, but it happens in our lives. I'm Santita Jackson. It's a joy to be with you on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. We were Air America, but today we are WCPT, everybody. still the largest progressive talk radio station in the United States, and my brothers and sisters to the north in Minneapolis, St. Paul, AM 950 radio. I'm Santita Jackson. Rise and shine, everybody. I want you to call me at 773 763 9278. 773 763 9278. You can also text me at that number. Let's talk about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Her Supreme Court hearings begin today at 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock, I think, Eastern Standard Time. What is going to happen? They say that the Republicans are gearing up to attack her. So what do you think? Senator McConnell says, well, I don't know. I haven't decided about her. Now, mind you, she's been approved by Congress several times. What is it going to take? What do you think is going to happen? What should we be looking for? And should you be looking at these hearings? If you can, absolutely, you need to pay attention. You need to look. So we're going to be talking about that, of course, with a tremendous panel led by Attorney C.K. Hoffler, our legal eagle here. Of course, she's on WAOK in Atlanta every Tuesday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And she has legal Q&A with C.K. on the Santita Jackson Show every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right, everybody, let's get to some of these headlines. There's a lot going on as we talk about Ketanji Brown Jackson. 773 763 9278. 773 763 WCPT. In Chicago, as I shared, 69 degrees will be the high, almost 70 degrees, partly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 60 degrees, cloudy. In the NBA, the Timberwolves will be playing tonight along with the Bulls. March Madness, everybody. Ladies first. Number 10 Creighton stunned number 2 Iowa 64-62. Number 10 South Dakota upset number 2 Baylor. Wow, number 1 South Carolina. Well, no surprise there. They were triumphant over number 8 ranked Miami 49-33. On the men's side, TCU, well, they fell to Arizona 85-80, and Texas, well, they fell to Purdue 81-71. Everyone, more than 20 million people across the southeastern United States are bracing for extreme weather this week, which comes with the spring when the hot and the cold air mix, everybody, including tornadoes, damaging winds, and very large hail. The severe storms will be felt across the Gulf region, but portions of Louisiana and Mississippi are expected to be hit the hardest, everybody. Ukrainian President Zelensky is appealing for ceasefire talks with Russian President Putin. But U.S. and NATO officials say Putin has not backed off of his original demands. Last week, President Putin laid out several issues to achieve a ceasefire with Ukraine, including a demand for Ukraine's neutrality or an assurance that Ukraine would not become a NATO member. President Zelensky has indicated that he is willing to consider a neutrality policy under certain conditions to help bring an end to the violence. However, Ukrainian and Russian negotiators have met 4 times since the start of Russia's invasion with no major resolution on Putin's other demands. But the Turkish officials are saying that they are making progress. We will see. Let us hope that we will give peace a chance. Confirmation hearings for the Supreme Court nomination of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson are set to begin later today. She is poised to become the first African-American woman to serve on the nation's highest court. It's going to happen. My mistake, everybody. Let me correct myself. 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time today, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, followed by 2 days of questioning and 1 day of testimony from additional witnesses. President Joe Biden chose Jackson to succeed a man for whom she clerked back in the early 90s, Justice Stephen Breyer. She's a former federal public defender who sat on lower U.S. courts for nearly a decade. Harvard Law graduate, high honors from their undergraduate program, high honors from their law school program. No one is more qualified. Sending prayers. Whether you agree or disagree with people and their politics, everybody, let's remain loving. Of course, Justice Clarence Thomas was admitted to the hospital late Friday after experiencing flu-like symptoms. His spokespersons have confirmed that he does not have COVID, but we are certainly praying for him. All right, everybody, let's talk about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. What is going to happen? What is going to happen, everybody? We're talking with attorney C.K. Hoffler, chair of Rainbow Push, immediate past president of the National Bar Association, the largest and oldest black bar association in the world, more than 65,000 lawyers. In fact, they looked at Ketanji Brown Jackson, among other candidates, for this Supreme Court nomination because they knew something was coming down the pike. Something could be coming down the pike, and it did. And of course, we've got Attorney Anastasia Sanat, Haitian American Lawyers Association from Illinois. She is their president. We've got Attorney Daryl Jones from the Transformative Justice Coalition. Indeed, he is their chair. And we're so excited to have all of you here today. We've got a lot to talk about. So, CK, let us begin. As you have been vetting, when the National Bar Association vets a candidate, vets a potential slate of candidates, people who might be tapped for the Supreme Court, who might be looked at for the Supreme Court. What are you looking at? What makes someone SCOTUS worthy, if you will?
Good morning, Santita, and to this magnificent panel, and to all the listeners and viewers. Well, what we look for is people who have certainly the credentials, the background. We look for the judicial temperament. We also look for, where do they stand on critical issues involving our community? And on all fronts, when we looked at the qualifications and we looked at Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, initially we looked at her because she was being elevated to the Court of Appeal. And so she had been tapped to sit on the court that she's on now, and we were asked for our comments and our thoughts, and we gave them. And of course, we felt that she was a supremely qualified candidate. We knew without a question that she was going to be elevated to the Federal Court of Appeals as she was, because she had already demonstrated with her judicial temperament being on a federal court previously. So again, there's a body of opinions that you can look at to see where the judges stand on various issues. And she really, really is very, very level-headed. She's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. She's tenacious, and she means what she says, and she says what she means. I reviewed a lot of her opinions in preparation for this week. And Santita, I feel like for my entire legal career, I've prepared for this very moment to see a black woman on the U.S. Supreme Court. So, in a nutshell, qualifications, judicial temperament, background, what they bring to the table, and just what kind of human being that they are. And on all fronts, she checked all the boxes. For those who look at objective criteria, of course, she came from the Ivy. That's very impressive. But you don't have to be an Ivy League graduate to be well qualified. We had several candidates that were not Ivy League graduates who were equally qualified. But she does have that. But her judicial temperament, the fact that she was, that she represented people. She represented people on a federal level, people who could not afford to be represented, who could not afford lawyers. That also spoke volumes of her background. That is really, really, other than the late, great Justice Thurgood Marshall, there has not been a U.S. Supreme Court contender, or justice certainly, that represented people. So all of these factors, all the objective criteria, in addition to the subjective criteria, made Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, without a question, rise to the top in my book, when I was president of the National Bar Association, first to serve on the Court of Appeals. Since then, of course, I've taken a position, a very strong position as it relates to her and other candidates, because she runs circles around at least 4 of the sitting U.S. Supreme Court justices. And I suspect, though, that she's going to have a fight on her hands, as we anticipate, because her candidacy, her nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court is political. And so the Republicans are circling, the sharks are circling around, if you will, to try to discredit her. But I got news for them. She's going to be extremely well prepared because she's an extremely well prepared jurist. What they're going to see today when she gives her opening is what they've seen on the bench as a federal judge and on the Federal Court of Appeals, because she's nothing but, if not consistent. She's always consistent in her messaging. She's always consistent with where she stands. And even if you disagree with where she stands, she's going to be consistent. What I love about her is what you see is what you get. She has, the fact that she has been a clerk on the U.S. Supreme Court means that she understands the system. The fact that she has represented people means that she understands issues of importance to many communities. The fact that she has been a judge and has demonstrated judicial temperament that's appropriate for the U.S. Supreme Court is a cherry, is incarcerated, has seen so much in her lifetime, has risen to the top, also informs her perspective. The fact that she attended Harvard undergrad and Harvard Law School and accelerated, achieved more than most, just speaks to her ability to accelerate in all different types of environments. And the fact that she really is, true to form, a Black woman, speaks to the integrity of this extraordinary candidate. But they're going to come gunning for it, because when you have all of these things that make you such a great candidate, that makes you someone who they want to bring down, many want to bring down.
Attorney Anastasia Sanat, your thoughts?
I honestly don't believe that there's going to be much of a fight. Democrats have enough votes in order to make sure that she goes through. I think the problem that we're going to see is that these senators, I believe that's what we're going to see. The American public is going to see a nastiness from the GOP. They're going to see racism that they've never seen before. I understand that, our former president kind of inspired some of the nasty, but in this particular situation, he's been out of office now for approximately 2 years. So that means the nasty you're going to see are from our current sitting senators that don't necessarily need to be nasty in any way. I believe Attorney Hoffler mentioned all of the qualifications that most Americans look at. They want to look at, well, where did she go to undergrad? Well, she went to Harvard University, and it's a top 10 school. She graduated magna cum laude. Where did she go to law school? She went to Harvard Law School. She also was the editor of the Harvard Law Review. Again, top 10 school. What did she do as far as, her legal experience? Well, she was on the district court for 2 years. She was on the appellate court for 2 years. She was a clerk for the Supreme Court for 2 years. In fact, she clerked 4 Justice Breyers. So that's a total of 6 years of experience that she brought with her before she actually got nominated. And on top of that, as Attorney Hoffler correctly states, she was 8 years as a public defender. So 5 years, she also sat on the U.S. Sentencing Commission. 2 of the arguments that the GOP is going to be talking about will be her sentencing of child pornographers. So what they're saying is, although these child pornographers found guilty and sent to jail, they want to argue that she wasn't, quote-unquote, tough on crime. She didn't give them she gave them lenient sentences as opposed to harsher sentences. They also want to talk about her time as a public defender and how she represented clients in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. So I think when you listen to those things, those are actually going to be revelations, not necessarily a fight, because Democrats can go ahead and push them through. I believe it's going to be a revelation of the seriousness of what it means to be an educated Black woman, and how much harder it is, and how much more you have to be than the above-average white person just to even get on the Supreme Court. Now, when you compare her to, for example, Amy Coney Barrett, who actually was nominated under Trump and got in very quickly. She went to Rhodes College, which is not a top 10 school. True, she graduated magna cum laude as well, but she went to Notre Dame Law School. Not that it's a bad law school, but when you're comparing statistics as to where it wasn't even a top 10 school. It's still not. She was also editor of the Notre Dame Law Review. She didn't spend any time in the district court. She spent 1 year on the appellate court, and then she clerked for 1 year with the Supreme Court. So she had less legal experience than we have with Ketanji Brown Jackson. She also had 4 years of private law experience, and then she doesn't have any experience on, for example, in the U.S. Solicitor General office, like Brett Kavanaugh, or she doesn't have any experience on the U.S. Sentencing Commission. But when you think about it in totality, she was considered above average enough in order to be nominated for the Supreme Court. But when you compare her and you put it in comparison to Ketanji Brown Jackson, she has to be above the above average white woman just to get nominated.
raise these questions about her character, her credibility, her integrity. All of these things should not be happening, but I believe they will, because it will reveal the seriousness of racism and the seriousness of how it plays in our system of government.
Well, you know what?
Thank you.
I will say this, Attorney Sanat, since before the Republic was founded, since before 1619, because Black people have been here since the 1530s, we've always been told that you must be superior in order to be equal. And so maybe it will help another generation to understand what the struggle has always been about. Because I think that no one on the court can touch this Howard University graduate named Thurgood Marshall. I mean, so our whole sense of things, I think, is just so off. But understanding the hoops that this woman is going to have to jump through, that she's jumping through, because it is unbelievable. But I think it bears watching today. Attorney Darrell Jones, Transformative Justice Coalition. What do you see? What are you looking for today and tomorrow, and for however long this will last?
Santita, thanks for having me this morning. And what I think I'm looking for today is really going to be the beginning of what is going to be the battle lines. And I differ a little bit with Attorney Sanat. I think there is going to be a battle that's going to go on. It's the reason why you're seeing, it's just had this galvanizing effect for African American women and some others. And what I expect to see today is what I started seeing yesterday, where there's some 400 African American women that come to D.C. to say, we are going to be here in support of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's going to continue to build. And, they're not going to rest on the fact that she's been nominated. They are not going to rest until she has been confirmed. And what I expect to see coming out of these opening statements will be the lines that are going to be drawn. And I agree with Attorney Sanat that they're going to be raising the child pornography issues with regards to the clients that she's represented. They're going to be raising the Guantanamo Bay folks that she's not successfully represented. They're going to be raising Second Amendment arguments with regards to gun rights and trying to get positions on it. And what's going to be really interesting is that, one thing that we have seen from Judge Brown Jackson, soon to be justice, is not simply, a very high legal analytical ability, but we've also seen a certain balance that has come from her, and that's going to be the Achilles heel for the attacks that they attempt to bring up for her, is that she's so well balanced. She's so well reasoned. She's going to approach it based on the law, based on her experience, and will be able to do the integration of those two things and responding to those to the questions. And the whole criminal defense background just brings that perspective to the court that it currently does not have. And so to have someone that's come off the U.S. Sentencing Commission to be able to approach and to answer the questions that are coming from them, I think that any senator that is opposing Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is going to have their hands full as they try to question her and try to find a hook to put their hat on of opposition. Because I don't think that it's there. As CK has put out very clearly, don't touch the educational side of it. It's not even a consideration. Don't touch the judicial experience side of it. It's not a consideration. So they're going to be searching for this hook. And I don't think that the hook is there. And I'm excited because I'm going to be out there either Tuesday or Wednesday at the hearing as well, supporting her. And I want to see the people that are coming out to support her, the African American women, the white women, the black men, all of us that are coming out to see this historical moment and to watch Judge Brown Jackson as she becomes confirmed. I fully believe she'll be confirmed, but I think it's going to be a fight.
I wonder, but what will that fight look like? Because of course, the last time we saw Robert Bork in the '80s, which a fulsome challenge to his nomination was mounted, and Reverend Jackson was one of the leaders of it, and he has been very angry about it ever since. But he's an originalist, and everyone's and on our side of the aisle, we said he's dangerous. But we saw what happened. I mean, no one saw Anita Hill coming, including Anita Hill. I mean, can we expect any moment like that? CK Hoffler, I've got 30 seconds. Well, you never expect those moments.
No, I don't think we can expect any moments like that.
Okay.
Because this is the thing, Santita. Everything is out there in the open. People know about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson better than they know a lot of people because they've been trying to destroy her credibility for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't going to be any surprises, but what's going to be very interesting, and I think that the world will see the poise and the excellence, the exceptionally qualified black woman who's going to knock it out of the ballpark. That's what we can expect to see. And she's going to run circles around all of those who try to discredit her just by answering the question with the appropriate temperament that she's known for. So I look forward to it. If I want telling this widely on, in the media, I would just have popcorn sitting there watching it the whole time.
Well, we're going to have opportunity starting at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I want to know what your thoughts are. What are your thoughts on the hearings? What do you expect to hear? Do you expect to hear her brilliance? She is known to be whip smart, everybody. Absolutely brilliant. What do you think is going to happen here? What do you think is going to happen here? And should we be surprised by her brilliance? I mean, Constance Baker Motley, who's really the model for everybody in every woman in the area of law. She didn't go to Harvard, but guess what? You can't touch her. Thurgood Marshall, you can't touch them. Genius is everywhere. Remember, Jesus was born in the ghetto. Remember that. Let's not forget that, everybody. Want to hear your thoughts? Call me at 773-763-9278. Let's talk about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. What do you expect to hear at her hearings today? Back in just a minute. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get Anastasia, you have to leave now, or you can.
Yeah, I have to go to work, and I wanted to thank you for allowing me to be present.
I'm allowing you, girl. Get out of here. You can come anytime you want to come. Anytime I can get you on, I have to grab you whenever I can. How about that?
Yeah, but I hope that I didn't offend anybody with the position that I took. But I really think she's going to make it. But I just think the fight will be the revelation is really going to be what we're going to see as opposed to.
Anastasia, you know what? As long as you didn't offend anyone, but be very clear. We welcome even the nuances of positions that people take that can be different from one another's. We welcome that. I'm not asking for an echo chamber here. That's not what we're doing. As long as you present what you are presenting respectfully and, really with the best of intentions, lovingly, everything is great. So don't apologize. Don't apologize anymore. Don't apologize. Just come on.
Going to be a fight, but I think it's going to be a knockdown.
Attorney Connolly and
Girl, honey, look, we are Black in America. It has been a struggle since we got off the boat. Okay.
Right, sure.
So no, I mean that's just.
Right. Mobilized.
Yeah.
The troops are mobilizing. People are there and have been mobilizing. Yeah, Theta is another nonprofit organization that I'm part of, and we're going to be doing a call to action, a day of action on March 22nd. We're going to have basically what you said, Attorney Hoffler. We're going to be having some popcorn and watching.
Yeah.
So,
You know.
They will paint the place red like they did for Loretta Lynch. So.
Just watch everything. I mean, because my thing is, I always want to know, a black face in a high place is unimpressive to me. I don't care about that. And because we have that with Clarence Thomas, and that should have been a lesson. And we've had that with other people who are Democrats, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have this. They don't have. I'm an anti-imperialist who's a progressive in my views and very old-fashioned in others. I want to know how you think. I want to know how having an incarcerated relative, has it made you more compassionate? Has it helped you to understand another side of life? That's what I want to know. Beyond that, I mean, just putting a black person in office, keep that.
I'm curious to find out if Mr. Thomas will continue.
60 seconds.
Well, we will see.
I'm going to let you guys know.
Sending you much love.
Because Joe Biden knew if Justice Thomas steps down.
Well, you'll be getting another call from me, so you can come back because we're going to be analyzing this. But let me let you go. Attorney Connolly? Aaron? We're coming to you, girl. We're glad you are here. CK. CK always wants you in the mix. So.
Good morning. Good morning. I cannot wait to see Judge Brown Jackson have some good responses for the quote unquote gentlemen.
Well, every woman loves a good clapback, right? So stand by. Oh, hold on.
Everyone.
Okay, we're coming up.
Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. We're talking about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, first Black woman nominated to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. How will she fare? Call me at WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. We were Air America, but now we are WCPT at AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I want to hear from everybody. Call us at 773-763-9278. We're talking with this brilliant panel of legal eagles. Attorney Anastasia Sanat, president of the Haitian American Lawyers Association of Illinois. She just left us, but we've got Aaron Connolly, brilliant political strategist, who is with us today, and of course, Attorney Daryl Jones, who is the chair of the Transformative Justice Coalition, along with Barbara Arnwine, Attorney Barbara Arnwine. They do such brilliant work. And of course, Attorney C.K. Hoffler. She hosts Legal Q&A with C.K. on the Santita Jackson Show every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, and her own show on WAOK, the iconic talk radio station out of Atlanta, which is every Tuesday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Before we hear from you, Aaron Connolly, Attorney Aaron Connolly, let us go to, who is it? Chaparral, our girl. What's going on? We know we're in the prom season. It's springtime, so I know Celebrations by Us has got some really exciting things planned.
Yes, Santita, thank you so much for having us. We are in the springtime as well as also graduation and prom season. So we're actually doing our prom season and our graduation party send-off. So we do balloon arches, graduation parties, we do hors d'oeuvres, sweet tables, balloon columns, whatever it is that you need to celebrate your event. Don't hesitate to give us a call. We're also doing weddings where we do full floor arrangements and decor. So don't hesitate to give us a call at 708-526-4546. 708-526-4546. Visit us at celebrationsbyus.org. You can see all of our photos there, as well as also our setups and designs. So don't hesitate to give us a call at 708-526-4546. Thanks so much, Santita.
Sending you much, much, much love. Thank you so much, Jules. Celebrationsbyus.org. Celebrationsbyus.org. Joining Attorney C.K. Hoffler and Attorney Daryl Jones is Attorney Aaron Connolly. Attorney Aaron Connolly, what are you looking for today? What do you expect? What do you expect some of the questions to be? I just read a column by George Will, a noted conservative, but whatever you think about his politics, he's absolutely brilliant. But it was interesting to see his line of thinking and the questions that he said he would pose to Judge Brown Jackson, were he to have the opportunity. And I said, well, these are the conservative talking points. And at the top of the list, Attorney Jones, Attorney Hoffler, and Attorney Connolly, affirmative action. Now, many people look at affirmative action as a program that primarily benefited Black people. The biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action are white women. And so where do you think this is going to go today? Because, these hearings can be really contentious.
Yes, and I think Judge Brown Jackson has been more than prepared for this line of questioning and these types of questions in her years cutting her teeth in high levels of a very competitive legal community. Let's be real, this woman is ready. She's going to come prepared, and I would expect the questioners to be thoughtful, detailed, and respectful in their questioning, unless they want to be embarrassed. That is my advice. This is a moment that our country has been waiting for. I think she understands everything that is on her shoulders in this moment. But the most important thing is her beautiful and brilliant legal mind has been answering these questions in her sleep. I think she's going to be as ready as she needs to be, but I'm not sure those asking the questions are going to be prepared for the grace, the elegance, the calm and cool demeanor, and the intensity in her answers. I think you're going to feel the passion that she feels for the issues that are at stake, being the top jurist in the country, defending the Constitution, but she's going to come with detailed responses, legal responses, and I believe just kind of take the wind out of their sails in some of these hostile line of questioning. And they haven't been, we've seen this before, and we understand how Mitch McConnell operates. I think that this woman is going to do an amazing job, and she has been, it just goes to her experience, right? She's been a judge. She has been on both sides of the aisle in the courtroom. She has a full understanding of what's at stake here, and my hope is that none of our senators, none of the folks asking or crafting these questions embarrass themselves, to be honest. I think the way the questions are worded are going to show us a lot of the American people of what our values are. If you are taking time to ask a question in this forum, and the question is on a subject that maybe is not important to the vast majority of American people, it's going to frame a lot of where we see our senators, or we see our system of government, and what they value and what they place their energy and time on. So if affirmative action is the most important thing, I don't know what polls are looking at that says that's a great issue to focus on. But the reality is then they will have to come back and answer those tough second follow-up questions that you mentioned, Santita. If you want to take away affirmative action, how many white women in your life have benefited from that? How about we look at the real numbers of how this works in our society and understand that our affirmative action should go further?
But you know what burns me up about affirmative action, starting with you, Attorney Aaron Connolly, and then you, Attorney Hoffler, and then you, Attorney Jones. I will tell you, I'm an affirmative action baby. And it is insulting to me to see affirmative action assaulted and insulted in this way. Affirmative action affirms that someone qualified is going to get the spot. Legacy clauses do not do that, Aaron Connolly. I mean, even George W. Bush, God bless him, nice guy, honest to God, even though I don't agree with him politically on a lot. He even, when he spoke at Yale, he even laughed because, he's a really jocular, funny, he's a genuinely funny guy. He said, look, honest to God, he is. He said, I don't even know how I got in here. Oh, legacy. But no one talks about that. A big chunk of Ivy Leaguers get in because their mother and father went there. Jared Kushner's high school staff, the people who taught him, were angered by the fact that he got in. They said he is absolutely unqualified, but because his parents gave them a couple of $1 million, he's in. What? No one questions that. But every time you see a black or brown or
the LSAT scores of a brilliant black judge, yeah.
What is this?
Want to see her LSAT scores.
And what if her LSAT scores were slightly below those who've been taking standardized tests and who've been prepped for tests? Because in prep school, because my brothers and sister went to prep school, I did not. They are prepped for these tests from grade school. From grade school. The first time they see the SAT is not when they are 16 or 17. It's when they're 6 or 7. So, I mean, what do you expect, what do you think might be the most contentious line of questioning, Aaron? And then I'll go to you, CK, and then you, Attorney Jones. Will it be the child pornography, or will it be affirmative action? Will it be, is she soft on crime? Will she be hard on crime because she's got a family member who's incarcerated? What do you think is going to happen?
I think those pieces where there is a personal connection, right? When you're talking about someone's brother that is incarcerated in the system, I think they will try and press some buttons to see if they can get some emotional reactions out. That will probably be their goal. I don't think she's going to indulge that type of questioning with the response that they want. I think it will be difficult if they start pressing on some of her qualifications for the job, asking detailed questions about grades in classes or LSAT scores or things that every lawyer knows do not matter now, and you would never ask another person in that position, right? Things like that are not considered. So I would look for them trying to push her buttons in that way, really asking almost insulting questions of her qualifications and looking for details because the media has allowed that narrative to come through. But I think she will rise above it and answer them with dignity and not give them more fuel for their attacks.
CK, where do you see a curve? Because curves will be thrown, right?
Absolutely. Well, Santita, they're going to set some curveballs at her because of some of her opinions. As you probably do know, the first federal judge in Alabama, African-American judge, actually went to opposition relative to her nomination early on because of a position she took on a class action involving discrimination of African-Americans. In that case, she denied class certification based on the commonality factor. There are 4 factors basically in general. And there were people that took the position, well, that somehow makes her less black or not in favor of black interests. So I have analyzed that opinion from top to bottom. And she made her ruling, I would plaintiff's lawyers, of course I want class certification, particularly on discrimination cases, but I think that her opinion was reasoned. I think it was a very, very sound opinion where she basically took the position that it would be counter to the interests of the putative class members if they were a part of this class action, meaning counter to the interests of the African Americans who were supposed to be represented in this class action. That was her position because of she had a legal justification for it, and she went the extra mile to detail why she opposed or why she did not grant class certification. So there's going to be, perhaps interestingly enough, maybe she might be challenged on that. Another curveball, and she did rule when she was a federal judge on the federal court there were some issues involving the Trump administration, involving whether certain Trump aides would be immune or would be protected from appearing and from answering questions from congressional committees. And she took a position, she sided with the Democrats, at least that's the way it was perceived. And so they're going to challenge her on that. They're going to say that she's also very soft on crime, as evidenced by, one, they're going to try to draw a nexus between her uncle being incarcerated, having been on a sentencing commission, having maybe authored a pen some opinions that people will interpret as her being soft, having represented those, the least of these at Guantanamo Bay. All of those things I think they're going to challenge her on so that the conclusion can be drawn that she's soft on crime. She's soft on criminal justice reform. She's very lenient when it comes to certain things. And that she herself has some opinions that are political in nature, citing the cases where she opposed or sided with the Democrats as it relates to the Trump administration. So I think that's where the rubber's going to meet the road for her. That's what they're going to focus on. But I got news for them. She's been prepared for that line of attack, and she can, as Aaron Conley said, she can answer those questions in her sleep. I think that what we will observe is a judicial temperament, a level of class, a level of excellence and brilliance that perhaps this country hasn't seen in a while at these hearings. I mean, I think we saw what happened when Kristen Clark was through her nomination, when she was going through the confirmation process, some of the questions that they asked her were ridiculous. They're going to ask ridiculous questions again of her, but we cannot compare what Christian Clark's position is to sitting on the U.S. Supreme Court. So it's going to be even higher. There's going to be more scrutiny, more intensity, more offensiveness. Some of the dialogue is going to be absolutely positively offensive. And if people want to see what the juxtaposition or what racism and sexism coming together looks like, they need to observe every single part of these hearings, because they will indeed see what it is to be a black woman in America, to be a black professional woman, to be a black woman who has achieved, because you see the convergence of racism and sexism all in one little nice packet. And that's what Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's experienced this, by the way, her entire life, and always risen to the occasion and done what she needed to do, and today is not going to be any different.
She seems like she, someone who is not to be deterred. I was reading a New York Times article about her time at Harvard, which was just after Barack Obama had graduated, and they were protesting the Confederate flags there, and she said, "Okay, but remember, we still have to go to class because we don't want these people to win by not going to class, while we, at the same time, protest." Attorney Darrell Jones, what do you expect? Any curveballs today? I mean, not saying that she can't handle them, but just what are you expecting? What do you think we should be expecting?
I think that one of the things we should be expecting today, and I'm not going to call it a curveball because I think that the conservatives have been doing this for a number of years now. I think that what you're going to see today is not going to be a bunch of questions of Judge Brown Jackson, but you're going to see statements coming from the conservatives, and what they're going to try to do, what the playbook has been for the last couple of years, is to interject race and racism into what they're attempting to do. So I look for them to go after the affirmative action based on education and try to question her or raise the questions with regards to, is this appropriate? Is it appropriate to discriminate against the Asian Americans, discriminate against anybody to get favorable treatment to anyone? I look for that sort of reasoning to start coming through. I look for them to start attacking on issues like the Farmers Assistance Program through the American Rescue Plan that favored black farmers, and asking her constitutional questions based on that. Not really to elicit whether or not she can answer the questions, because clearly she can answer the questions, and clearly she can do legal analysis on why it's appropriate. But I think the bigger piece is going to be pushing forward the racism that's the underlying piece to all of that. That's what I look to start happening today, and that's going to be the attack that they take. And look for them to go after qualified immunity, and having her speaking with regards to qualified immunity. Those are the types of attacks I think they're going to try to bring on board to try to convince their fellow conservatives to go against Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Those are some of the issues that George Will brought up in his opinion piece, Aaron Connolly. And that's why I wanted to read it. Well, I always want to hear just different points of view, but I wanted to hear the questions that one of the most noted conservatives of the last couple of generations, would ask, because I said, this is like a thumbnail sketch of where they're going. And I agree with you, Attorney Jones. It's not a curveball. It's a curveball, though, to those who are uninitiated, Attorney Jones, because so many of us, I don't know. It's like we forget what we've come through and what we still have to deal with from day to day to day to day to day. Do you think anyone will have the nerve to ask her about her LSAT scores or even her grades while she was in undergraduate or law school at Harvard? CK.
I would say good luck with that. Good luck with that. They want to focus on her grades, carotid, everything that she's accomplished at this point. Then good luck with that. They will completely lose credibility. Of course, that doesn't stop them from doing that. Focusing on her LSAT scores, they will completely lose credibility because she did get into Harvard Law. Now, that places less emphasis on LSAT scores, ironically. How about that? So, of the Ivy League law schools, that's a trend now, where people are saying, well, you know, we can't just focus on the LSAT scores. So, whether she scored highly or didn't score highly on the LSAT scores, that has no bearing on her judicial temperament or anything. That is so much of a red herring that I say, if that's the best you got, then we won this battle 100 miles going north, because that is such a weak line of attack. But it doesn't mean they won't do it, because again, in some areas, people will find that that's an indicator of something. Whereas as a practicing lawyer and having had people from Ivy League schools and all types of HBCU law schools and every school in between, as whether you have subjective or objective criteria, that means absolutely nothing. How you perform on a standardized test is not an indicator of your judicial temperament, your brilliance, your analytical ability, your success rate, or where you will go in life. It's an indicator of how you perform on that day, or that exam, or that test, in anything, such as feeling sick, having panic attacks, having crisis going on, to impact how you perform on that day. Plus, statistically, there's a body of law and literature that speaks to the bias, if you will, of standardized tests. So if they go in that direction, and which I think that somebody will try to go in that direction, I think that there is a body of research and people who are poised to respond on that level that will completely dismantle any argument that is made to try to discredit her based on any scores that she had. But in addition to the fact, I think that whatever she did, the success that she's had up until this point, speaks volumes as to how standardized tests should not be considered in that type of analysis.
Well, I mean, it just gives lie to, I mean, thank goodness they did not use that yardstick on Thurgood Marshall. Thank goodness he didn't pay attention to that when he had to argue before the Supreme Court, the Brown v. Board of Education decision. Thank goodness, thank goodness, thank goodness, thank goodness. You've missed out on so much genius that exists out here. Got literally a minute apiece for everybody. Let me start with you, Attorney Darrell Jones. Attorney Darrell Jones, what are you expecting today? What do you think we should be looking out for over the next 2 or few days?
Now, over the next few days, we're going to see one of what I would consider one of the most brilliant and one of the most, certainly qualified judges in our country sitting to become a Supreme Court justice. And what we're going to see is we're going to have the opportunity to witness what excellence looks like in the embodiment of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. And as this excellence is being questioned and being pushed and being probed, you're going to see what a judicial temperament, the ideal judicial temperament, looks like. And I could not be more excited for Ketanji Brown Jackson. I could not be more excited for not only every Black woman in America, but for every American to see this highly qualified, intelligent, well-spoken, reasoned Black woman getting ready to ascend to the highest court in our nation. I'm excited to watch it all unfold, and boy, this is what justice will look like in America. Thanks so much.
Oh, of course, Attorney Aaron Connolly.
I mean, I could not have said that better. It was a beautiful sentiment, and I completely agree. And let's not forget the importance of this moment. You know, we are so busy fighting all the time. We don't often get a chance to step back and celebrate that Women's History Month. We're witnessing this amazing history, and it's taken far too long, and we should be talking more about how we can stop having these firsts, right? It's about time all the firsts are over with. I was at an event yesterday with a woman who would be the first Latina congresswoman from the Midwest. That's true, too. We still don't have a brilliant Black woman on the Supreme Court representing the views, the experience, the life, but also what she's had to deal with in her field as a Black person in America, and the experience of that too, because it has been more difficult. And I cannot wait to see her answer these tough questions about those hard decisions. And again, I think it will be evidence of a ideal judicial temperament, a true jurist. I think her brilliant mind will be showcased. And I hope that our folks that are supporting this type of justice in our Supreme Court will have her back in the way that she deserves.
Well, I can't wait for you to have your candidate on my show. How about that?
I would love it. I would love it.
I already told you I want her on the show. I already told you that. Get her on here, girl. You're in charge of a schedule. So people can hear her.
I'm not scheduled, but
Yes, so people can hear her. Look, everybody needs to see themselves represented. That's what's very, very important. I got a message from one of my sisters, from one of my Latina sisters who listens to the show every day. She said, I don't hear enough of myself on your show. And I'm sensitive to that. And I want everybody here because we are all here. We're all here. And you know what? This American project works only because we are all here. And we've got to make it work. Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination and her confirmation will be evidence of us getting better and better and better. Everyone, do not despair and say that things have not changed. Things have changed a whole lot. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson will be, she's not going to have a white robe before, she's wearing a black robe. She's not on an auction block. She is being elevated to the highest court in the land if everything goes as we believe it will. That's a long, 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 long way. And a lot of people are pulling for her black, white, brown, yellow, and red. So let's appeal to our better angels and let's become better together, everybody. My fellow Americans, I love you all. Can't wait to be with you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. Sending much love to everybody. See you tomorrow. God bless. All right, good people. I'm out of here. Love you. I'll see you in a few hours.
in a few hours. Safe travels.
God bless. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Devin, for a great show. You are the best. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Love you.